Here we are for episode 3 of the Relax and Recline podcast. I'm your host here, Matt Kelly, and I've got Meredith Merchant with me, and she is the Assistant Director of Facilities and Recreation at WPI, aka Boss Lady. So go into why Boss Lady. What's behind that?
Boss Lady was something that about 8 years ago, my students at the Recreation Center came up with. I think it's to the fact of it's not even really to understand me as a boss, but more like their mom away from mom or away from guardians. So I think it's just a thing that they understand that I'm the mom of the rec center or to help them through their years of college. And it just stuck. And I'm surprised even after 8 years, the students still call me that. And I think on campus, they know me more as that than even Meredith. So it's kind of funny. So
Hey, can't
yeah,
beat that. That's probably why you're the boss.
yes.
um, go ahead. I didn't know if you had more to say there, but
No, I'm good.
okay. Leading me into my first question is, I mean, I had to have the chat open here so I could exactly read your title, but what goes into being an Assistant Director of Facilities and Recreation?
Yeah. So the neat thing about my job on the daily basis is that it's never the same every day. So I'll lead in going that way. Um, I- the basis of it, I would say, is if you think of it as a whole, is the operations of facilities indoor and outdoor for athletics. So that's the basketball arena, the sports and recreation center, and then the outdoor fields. And with that going into it, now you're going to go deeper, like almost an umbrella kind of thought process. So operations wise with facilities and maintenance, if an elevator goes down, that's me. Or if the basketball courts need to be resurfaced, that's also me. The fields need to be maintenance, that's me. And let's see, you as a football coach, there's a lot going into just the field to break it down. So your electrical receptacles, your scoreboard, is the press box itself all set up? Is all of your equipment that you need for game day all set up? Is the concession stand clean? Like that goes underneath myself. With that also being said, the student staff and my part-time staff, I have about close to 75 student staff, and that's just in the recreation center that I oversee and train. And they go on to their customer service ways, cleaning the fitness equipment, making sure people are all set, accident and incident reports, memberships, guest passes, part-time staff, mentoring and training them into being better leaders and what they're doing and overseeing, and then student supervisors as well. On top of that, then there's the events on campus. So I'm a big service provider for that. Having them really be understanding to what our needs are every day and how our building runs to help them make sure an event is successful. So that could be down to, well, that door is locked, or you're not going to have enough room for this. I recommend this, vice versa. That's just a taste of every
Okay, so it
day.
sounds
So,
like kind of wear many hats, I guess you'd say.
yeah, you could say that.
So
So.
then, with doing all of those things, how would many, I guess you'd say, students, not just student athletes, obviously, but students you'd probably interact with or impact on campus?
I'm not to sound conceited, but all of them.
Okay.
Something. If you think about it, because I impact people as their mentor, as my employees, then I impact people in club sports and athletics. Then even on campus, because we provide them a service that they have almost 365 days a year. When we are shut down for storms, we are open so they have a place to go. So in my head, we are always impacting them. And that's where I think having that option and being the face of the recreation center, I even get asked, for an example, like Greek week, to partake in judging or partake in things outside of the rec center because I think they feel so comfortable with who we are and what we do here and how much we help them. So
Okay. And now, was this like your plan? You're a high school student or a college student? Like, this is what I want to do. I want to run a
no,
facility.
not at all. I was a All-American softball college player, college
Okay.
softball player. So I was that naive young student that they
Oh,
were
calm
like,
down. Is that like a little humble brag there? All American, right? A little, just kind of
no,
let that
but
slide
my
through.
point is I put that there purposely because when you are so engulfed into your sport, you forget that there's another world that exists sometimes.
Okay.
When you're younger,
Okay.
that's all you focus on. It's like being 5 years old and you're like, I want to be Michael Jordan. It's like that same thought process. That's what I
Okay.
was in. Um, So if people asked me what I wanted to do or even what I wanted to major in, I was like, I don't need to major in anything. I am going to be a softball player for the rest of my life.
Okay.
So I went to the junior college of Rhode Island to start on a full ride, again, playing softball and then also volleyball. And my major, for an example, was general studies. I didn't
Mhm.
care because I was going off. I got injured at the end of it, at the end of my time there, and I lost my scholarship to other universities that I was transferring out to. So then it was time for me to have to figure it out. So I love sports. Let's go into physical education. But then it was the best thing that could have ever happened to me because as I'm in my physical education career and undergrad, I got into sports medicine and athletic training. And I
Okay.
realized I needed more of like a challenge in my life at that point. So I was really, becoming something in my mind
Yeah.
and challenging myself well. And then even when I went on to my senior year and I went to Eastern Connecticut State,
Mhm.
I wanted even more of a challenge. So I went for exercise physiology at Springfield College,
Mhm.
thinking I was going to go in a clinical background. I'm way too bubbly of a person to be in a hospital setting. And I
Okay.
realized that really hard when I was in my master's. But also, like any student, you want a job.
Yeah.
So the rec center was opening up at Springfield College, and I literally just slid into this career completely. Took
Okay.
off like wildfire from there. Was able to get a GA, a graduate assistantship, and just fell in love with it. And I haven't looked back since. And then from Springfield, I applied to WPI on a whim because I was young, but was very good at what I did. And we were
Okay.
opening up the new rec center, but I was like, let's just take a hit and just see if it works. And they were wild enough to hire me. And here I am.
Okay.
So
And then, as the story goes, now boss lady.
now boss lady. So
Yeah.
yes, yep,
Okay. Interesting story. And I didn't even prep you on that question too. So
that's
my
okay.
bad for putting you on the spot a little bit.
That's a good one.
But good. Going forward too. So we say you impact back students. What else do you do? I know you do more than just what you do at WPI. What other kind of
I'm
other hats, I guess, you wear?
actually a college professor, so of course I'm such a nerd within my own profession. I teach intro to sport management and sport facility management. It's a lot of fun because everything that I do every day, I'm able to put into a classroom and teach students, and they're very interested in that to the point where I've even had some that I had a marketing degree that just wanted to have a class. And then by the time he was done with both my classes in a year's time, he was trying to find what I could teach so he could have me as a professor and then wants to now go into sport management. So to have
Okay.
those enriching experiences, and there's been a couple of them, I'm like, okay, I'm doing something right, or showing them that there is something that they could love and do that maybe they didn't know before. So that's a lot of fun. And then I'm a huge role in our national association, which is NERSA, National Intramural Recreational Sports Association.
Okay. Yes, and thank you for spelling it out because I was going to ask you to do that for me because I
Yeah,
have no
I was
idea
like,
what
let
that
me think
means.
about this for a second. I was the state director in Massachusetts, so I worked with a lot of students on that end, and I still do. Um, just overseeing, making sure there's programs, what others are doing, supporting them in any way I'm able. And then right now I serve on the NERSA National Appointments and Nominations Committee, which is a group about 8 of us that they have hand chosen throughout the country, and we're able to go through applications and choose who is up for president-elect or other positions. So
Oh
it's
wow.
really
So when
neat.
it's like president-elect, is that like students or
That's
adults?
like
I guess.
colleagues, like actual president of the National Association
Oh
for one
wow.
year, which would be anyone that would apply that is a colleague. But we also have the national student rep, which we
Mhm.
also go into as well. So I try to make sure that even if they're WPI where I currently work or anywhere else, that students have a voice and or have someone to go to hopefully have that voice. So it's pretty fun and pretty awesome. So
Cool. What about personal life in general? I know there's some ribbons hanging in the back over there. What are those for?
those are from the national conferences. Okay.
Oh, okay. All right. Never
Get
mind.
our
My bad.
names and you get your slew of like what you're part of. So
I
it's
gotcha. Your
fun.
lanyards
So,
and like your title and what you have access
yeah,
to and yeah.
they're here. Here's one example. Let's see here. This was our national conference in Boston when I was state director. So as you can see,
Okay. Oh yeah, there's a lot of ribbons at the bottom of
Yeah.
that. There's a lot of things there. Okay. I
Um,
was getting towards, because I know you a little bit. I was getting towards the running side of things.
mhm.
But what do you want to talk about with your running background too?
So that's a great question. I'm a charity marathoner. A lot of people always ask, how did that happen? We, in a department, had multiple people test positive for breast cancer and had to go through it. And me being the giver that I am, I was like trying to find ways of like how I could help or just try to make a difference. And running was something that I fell into after a few personal hurdles I had of myself, and it was doing well. And I was like, you know what? I know I can do this, and I know I can make a difference at the same time. So in 2017, I started to apply for the Dana-Farber Falmouth road race, which is a 7-mile road race in Cape Cod, and then realized they had the Boston Marathon road race. So a team for that. So I applied for that, and I actually got in. Um, and that's where that all started. So went on from there, and then I had a dear friend lose his father from a heart attack. And of course, that's also how, I think people grieve, right? Is like how
Mhm.
you work through that. And then I ran Chicago Marathon last year for American Heart Association.
Okay. So how
That's
many marathons have you run?
two, Boston and Chicago.
Okay. And what was the weather like for those?
I ran 2018 in Boston, which was the worst weather in marathon history. Um, yeah. So it was really rough. I'm sure you're going to ask how rough was that
Yep.
next. So let me get into it. It's really interesting because when you do these, you do not prepare, like you can't prepare for weather. The only way you can prepare is, oh, it's snowing, let me prepare and go out for a run in the snow in case something is to happen. So that's what we did all winter long. So as they were articulating during that race and before it, New Englanders had the advantage because we had a tough winter.
Training time kind of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we were out in the thick of it, like sub-zero temperatures, running if you were running outside.
Well, time out for a second. So me, I'm starting to run more as a way to get in shape and be outside and do things like that. But if it's cold or rainy, I go, yeah, no thanks. So like, what do you do to counteract the cold and the rain?
It's just really based upon just being smart and what you're wearing as well as what you're fueling your body. So with me per se, I always wear like a moisture wick if we're in those kind of temperatures, like long sleeve. And one of our older athletic trainers who was working Boston Marathon that morning, the best advice I've ever had, and I still take with me even after that day, just always focus on keeping your head and your hands warm. And it's
Okay.
true. Like it could be zero temperature and you could be in shorts and your long sleeve, but if your hands and your head are warm, the rest of your body regulates very well. I
Right. What
only do
about like your feet? That's just a thought for me. I'd always be afraid of like getting like
I
frostbite
felt
or
like I
something.
was in a lake the whole entire time, so it doesn't matter. It really doesn't
Okay.
matter. So, but when I hit mile 17, my friends were not there to hand off my next set of gloves, and I started getting cold, and that's
Uh-oh.
it was interesting to see. So
What's
they
with the friends? They got to be sitting there ready for you.
no, so there it was such a bad thing. I felt so bad. I was not nice at that point. I hit my all-time bottom and I needed my replenishment of my electrolytes.
Okay.
And I'm screaming in the middle of the road, like, where the are you?
Okay.
Uh, the T station was backed up. They had no control.
Oh, they couldn't get there. I gotcha.
And they were there early. So they met up somewhere else, but we had a friend that was closer that was able to meet me
Okay.
to just hand off his gloves to me. So
And I appreciate you bleeping yourself, because I don't know if I could have figured that out. So I
yeah,
appreciate
don't worry. I
that.
got it.
Okay. So real quick, just in case I do know, but how many miles is the marathon again?
26.2.
Like consecutive, right? Not like take breaks.
No.
Okay. Well, good for you. So two marathons, and you do some other road races and things along the
Yeah,
marathon line, but aren't as long.
no. So, which are fun. Like I said, the Falmouth Road Race, which is 7 miles, do a lot of 5Ks. I love trail running. They did North Face Endurance Challenge, which is like a 5K up Wachusett Mountain. They even have an actual
Oh,
marathon. Crazy, but it's a lot of fun. So it's just something different, engaging the mind in a different way. So.
awesome. So now I keep saying awesome or okay, and I can see it on the back behind you there. You have a sign that says "Be awesome today." So what
Yeah.
would yeah, I can see it, and I honestly love it. But what would you say to me or anybody listening for? Well, it'll be out tomorrow, but anybody listening, how would you give them an example to be awesome today?
It's so funny because I think people, when you say be awesome today, they try to think of something different than what they actually are in order to be awesome. When
Okay.
my one motto in life, and I always say it and it's known all over, it's even on my car keys, is like change the world. And what I mean by that is that people just need to maybe be kind to themselves and give them a kind reminder that their qualities and creativity that they already have enriches the world, makes an impact on the world, and is already awesome. But it's just a kind of reminder to maybe embed that out of your own self. So if I had anything to say to anyone, it's just be yourself, have fun, be awesome, as we say, and just
Yeah.
realize how much you have that you are already making an impact and stop trying to find something that you're not because what you are already is already there. So,
Okay. I like that. So for me, I changed everything into what I'm thinking, obviously. So my bad. But at the same time, I think of it as like be the best version of you that you can possibly be, and that's
yeah,
awesome.
absolutely. And people will follow and people love you for a reason. It's not because they think you are what you're not. So, mhm.
Now, as we're in the pandemic world, what have you been up to keep yourself busy, or is it? I mean, I know we've been working remotely, but has that been a process too that's been too busy for you?
Yeah, that's very busy. I'll be honest, but it's like you're speaking on that, but everyone is in the same boat in some kind of capacity, right? So, yeah, Zoom fatigue is a thing. You're exhausted and don't want to even look at your phone at the end of the day. But I think it's exciting at the same time because we are getting ready for open for the fall academic semester. We're very minimal of one of those colleges that are. So to see your hard work move forward is awesome. Running, of course, keeps you sane
Yeah.
myself, and I love gardening, so my yard is probably the best it's ever looked in my life.
Okay.
So,
So
but it's
what do
also
you got? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off. But what do you plant? Or right? Is that the right word? Plant and not
yeah,
garden.
I have habaneros. I have let's see here, we have tomatoes this year. And then a lot of flowers, so like hibiscus flowers. I have lilies. I have tiger lilies, irises.
And then is that just to make the yard look nice, or do you end up taking them inside and like making them decorative? Or
Great question. So they all will go, but they'll come back next year, except for my two hibiscus plants. They definitely need to come. They're in pods, so they need to come
okay.
inside once it gets
Uh,
colder. So,
and then obviously the vegetables you use, I'm assuming.
oh yeah, all day long. So we're making a mango habanero salsa. My neighbor and I like this coming week because I have literally over 30 habaneros. So if you want any, let me know.
Yeah, I don't mind. I don't mind to throw 'em my way. But
Yeah.
now, do you mix it up, or is it always the same vegetables that you plant, or flowers as well?
It all depends. So it's more of like last year tomatoes didn't grow well. So this year I was like, let's take a stab because it's drier. A lot of people are having problems with their peppers, and for some reason I was just like, I'm just gonna try with pepper this year, but I have no issues. So, but they say it's too dry, and I'm like, I water them 3 times a day. Maybe that's why.
Yeah, it has been like a almost like droughtish. Like I know, like a lot of grass is like burnt most places now.
Yes. Yes. But I always my staples every year are rosemary. I love cooking with rosemary and also what else? Basil. So for herbs wise, but
Okay.
just whatever I'm feeling that year is what I go with. So
Interesting. All right. I'm not a gardener at all, but I know my parents have a nice big garden set up where they have like a map of exactly what's on like each like panel, and they
that's
go nuts with it. And it's just been, I mean, they've only lived in their new house now for 4 years, but it's been something that they've done since they moved in there, as the previous owners had done a lot with that kind of stuff. But it's always interesting to me. Just I have no idea what's going on. I just turn the sprinkler for them if I'm watching their house.
yeah,
But
exactly. It is relaxing because it's just you can connect with just yourself in the art itself and not something technology wise, right? You can see a improvement on things and things grow and yeah, it's just nice.
And I know for me, like with all the Zoom fatigue that we talk about, like I use running or walking or doing a workout outside. It's just a way to like reset my eyes and not be
Yeah,
looking at a screen the whole time and see the sun and know that
ab-
it exists.
absolutely. I think especially in this time, people need to make sure, like, to have your time and that what if it's that or anything, just make sure you do because it'll catch up with you eventually.
And you might have been too busy, but what about any like Netflix shows or Any shows on TV that you got into?
Well, I'm obsessed with HGTV, so
Okay.
Home Improvement. So what's that? Hometown and then like Good Bones are two of them that I just watch religiously all the time if I have the TV on. But it's also mindless, so it's like you get to see these neat houses being completely transformed,
Hmm.
and then just relaxing. But besides that, nothing too crazy.
Okay.
But
Well, then I asked Shane, and apparently I asked the wrong person. What do you think about the corduroy lazy boy chair here? What do you think?
love it. So
Does that match like anything in 19 whatever, or is it okay in 2020 to have that?
I think it is. I don't think there's anything that's not okay. I think it's based upon what you feel is right, what makes you comfortable. So,
Okay. All right. Well, it's sure comfy. Otherwise, I wouldn't be sitting in it. But
right.
well, good. As we start to wrap things up here, and I think this has been awesome and taking some turns that I really liked, to be honest with you. But do you have a question you want to put me on the spot with? Because I've started to do that with this series.
Interesting. So, how have you been handling this time and what are things that you have been doing to keep yourself steady, especially with all the transitions you're having with what you currently do on a daily basis?
So I got very big into Stoicism throughout this time. So I read a lot of books by Ryan Holiday. I actually do. He does a journal. And it has like a daily kind of thing where it has like a little wow, I can't think of what it is, but a little quote that he would kind of explain. I got into kind of reading that either every morning or every night. And the thing that kind of hit me with that is the one of the things he talked about, and I truly believed in, is having a theory of kind of a practice instead of a routine. So like a
Yep.
routine is like something you do it every day at a certain time. So if that routine is then messed up, which obviously during this time it would be because you're not doing the same
Yeah.
things at the same time or at the same place, you're all kind of like your mind is all over the place and don't know what to do and you can't control things and whatnot. But if it's a practice, so like for me, it's working out, but I don't have to work out at 8 a.m. or 9. Like there's get a workout in throughout the day. So as I started to kind of move towards that, I still accomplished anything I needed to do, just a different time, and I felt so much better. Where those first couple of weeks or days, at least, I was all over the place, and it was like more of like I was being too productive because I would just, I mean, computer, you can move anywhere. I was working as soon as I woke up until I went to sleep, thinking that like that's what I needed to do. And then the bigger part of it for us to be productive was staying with the kids. I know it's different when you're used to them just coming into your office, but
Mhm.
from the springtime when we're out there practicing and meeting and lifting, but to just be with them. And it's not, sometimes it's, I mean, it's on a screen or texting them or calling them, but to just be there for them. Because I know as you interact with a lot of students, there's certain things that they were feeling too during that time that they needed to not
Mhm.
necessarily get out, but just know that someone was there for
Right. Well, I think us in a professional manner, no, like the students feel like we have the answers, right? And then in this unprecedented time, we don't have the answers. So to try to maneuver yourself on top of what they need as well, I'm sure it was a hurdle. So,
Yeah, and there's a lot of things that I'm not going to get into too much detail because I'll just keep talking. That's not what this is about.
right,
But there's a
exactly.
lot of other things that I was doing within that time too to make sure that we were being ready for whatever would be next. And obviously, I'm still doing that now. So that's
Absolutely.
the big
Awesome.
thing. Yeah. And now that leads me to one thing I didn't ask, and I apologize. Is it's not just you who runs the facilities there. So how is the team? I shouldn't say your team, but the team been staying together and doing everything.
Yes. Well, I think with any, that's a great question. And thank you for asking that one. We're okay. I think if anything during this time, there's three of us. It has brought us even closer than what we were before together, knowing like we're in it together, we're going through the same motions together. Subconsciously, we have our rotational freak out days, so that's really good. So someone can be strong, someone can be weak. But I think it got to the point where it's like it's okay for us to be able to vent those notions, not just to talk about the bad, but also the good, like being able to celebrate those times with each other, being like, yeah, here we are. And it could be as small as figuring out a workout zone. Okay. So I was just like taking it every single day with a grain of salt and just being positive with one another and keeping each other going. We've really have grown tremendously with each other. So, and I think even more respect for each other. Not that there wasn't there before, but you'd be shocked at how much more you do have after a time like this. So.
Because that's one thing too. Like it's not the same type of interaction, but it's different. You learn some different things about people that you didn't even know.
Yes.
that you work with for however long.
Yeah, absolutely. And even maybe those things that you do learn would help you when if this one day calms down, to be able to handle different situations even better, So
Yeah, and that's, I mean, we're all hoping for whatever normal will be like when we get back to it, but who knows what'll
absolutely.
happen.
Our new normal. That's the best way to
Yeah.
put it. So, mhm,
Yeah. Well, again, I appreciate you sitting down here and being the awesome boss lady that you are, and answering my questions, and
mhm.
hope everybody listens to this and enjoys it, and hope you, as we're getting ready for students to come back to campus, hope you're ready, and hope everybody obviously stays healthy as we embark on something that not every school is even trying.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for having me.
No problem.